I thought for once they were proud of me. Streamers in navy and silver hung across the living room. There were real plates, not paper, food that didn't come from a discount pizza box. Even my mom hugged me when I walked in, whispering, "You deserve this, Chloe." I smiled. I actually believed her. People clapped. My dad poured drinks. My sister Madison scrolled her phone in the corner, but for once, that didn't sting. Then they brought out the cake. It was from a real bakery. Fancy. My name piped in cursive. I leaned in closer, my heart fluttering until I read the full line. "Congratulations, loser." Laughter erupted. My dad snorted. My mom giggled behind her hand. Madison doubled over in tears. I just stood there, frozen. And in that moment, something inside me snapped not loudly, not violently, but permanently. And I walked out. Not before doing one last thing. They always said I was the easy one. "You never cause trouble, Chloe. You're so independent," Mom would tell me, smiling like it was a compliment. Like it didn't mean, "We don't need to pay attention to you." Growing up, I learned that silence was rewarded. If I got straight A's, they'd nod. If I cleaned the house, they'd say, "Good girl," like I was the dog. If I spoke up about being ignored, about being tired, I was being dramatic. Meanwhile, Madison could throw a tantrum in the middle of a grocery store, and somehow it was my fault for not distracting her. I remember once in second grade, I won a regional spelling bee. I still have the little gold trophy, now collecting dust in the back of a closet. That day, I came home beaming, holding it in both hands like it was proof I finally mattered. My mom barely glanced at it. "Oh, that's cute, honey," she said, wiping down the kitchen counter. "But don't brag, okay? Your sister's having a rough day." Madison had scribbled something on a paper, two crooked stick figures and a sun with sunglasses. Mom hung it on the fridge like it was the Mona Lisa. Dad ruffled her hair and called her his little Picasso. I just stood there, clutching my trophy, trying not to cry. It was like that for years. Madison got the new shoes, the upgraded phone, the birthday parties with themes, and rented bounce houses. Me? I got told, "Money's tight this year," or, "You understand, right?" And I did. For a long time, I did. I convinced myself it was okay, that I was the strong one, the one who didn't need attention. I folded myself smaller and smaller, hoping maybe if I took up less space, they'd finally notice I was missing. But they never did. I got used to hearing my name only when they needed something rides, help with homework. "Chloe, can you cover for Madison?" I said yes so many times. I forgot what it felt like to say no. By high school, it wasn't even disappointing anymore, just expected. When Madison got accepted into college, they threw her a backyard party with lights and banners and catered food. She lasted one semester before dropping out to find herself. I got into college on a full academic scholarship, working 2 part-time jobs to make ends meet. No party. Not even a dinner. Dad didn't even look up from his phone when I told him. I told myself I didn't care. I lied. It didn't matter what Madison did. She always landed on her feet. She barely graduated high school, skipped classes constantly, lied about grades. Still, when her college acceptance letter came, some small art school that accepted everyone with a pulse, me, parents acted like she'd gotten into Harvard. They threw her a full-blown celebration. Balloons, rented speakers, a tiered cake that said, "To our brightest star." They even bought her a new MacBook. "She'll need it for classes," Mom said. When I got into my dream school full ride, I got a thumbs up and, "Make sure you've applied for housing. No laptop, no celebration." I used an old hand-me-down Dell with a cracked screen. Fixed it with duct tape and determination. Every few months, I'd get a call from Mom. "Can you send Madison some grocery money? She's overwhelmed. Your sister's behind on her rent again, could you float her a bit? You're working, right? She's struggling." I was working, tutoring, waitressing, freelancing online, anything to survive. Madison had dropped out by sophomore year. She never even told our parents. They found out when the school sent a transcript with 0 credits earned. Dad just sighed, shook his head, and muttered, maybe college isn't for everyone. No punishment, no disappointment. They even paid off her tuition debt so it wouldn't follow her around. I was stunned. When I once overdrew my account by 12 trying to cover books and rent, I got a 5-minute lecture from Dad about responsibility and not acting like a victim. Madison was never called irresponsible. She was finding her path. One day, I overheard Mom talking to a family friend on the phone. Madison's so creative, she's just in a transition phase. Chloe? Oh, she's fine. Always fine. I wanted to scream. Fine? I hadn't slept in 3 days. I was skipping meals. My GPA was hanging by a thread because I had to cover 2 coworkers' shifts. But yeah, sure, I was fine. Because I had to be. When you're the reliable one, no one checks on you. They just keep adding to your load until you collapse under it, and then they're shocked that you're not smiling. I think they thought I didn't mind. That I liked being invisible. That the strength I showed was evidence I didn't need love or attention. But it wasn't strength. It was survival. I didn't complain, because I knew no one would listen. I didn't fight back because I thought maybe just maybe one day they'd wake up and say, "We see you, we're proud." That's why when they threw me that graduation party, I almost believed them. Almost. I walked into the house and froze. It looked beautiful. Blue and silver streamers draped across the ceiling, a big "Congratulations Chloe" banner over the fireplace, platters of real food, not just pizza slices tossed in a box, candles, music, neighbors, even a few people from Dad's office. It looked like something out of someone else's life. And for a second, I thought maybe it was. Maybe I'd finally crossed some invisible threshold. Maybe they'd seen all the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the quiet endurance and wanted to say, "We were wrong." Mom hugged me. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart," she said, her voice warm, her eyes shiny. "This is your moment." I didn't know how to respond. I just smiled. Dad clapped me on the back. "First college graduate in the family," he said, raising a glass. "Knew you had it in you." I laughed, not nervously, just purely. This was the moment I had always longed for. I scanned the room. Madison was off in the corner, scrolling her phone. Not interested. Typical. But it didn't matter. Today wasn't about her. People toasted me, shook my hand, asked about my next steps. I told them I'd landed a marketing internship in Boulder. Everyone said how impressive that was. For once, I felt like I belonged in a room full of smiling faces. Then Mom brought out the cake. It was beautiful. 3 layers. White with soft blue trim. My name in loopy cursive. Real bakery work, not grocery store stuff. She carried it like it was precious. Set it down right in front of me. Dad winked. "Go on," he said. "Check it out." Still smiling, I leaned closer. Then I read it. "Congratulations, loser." At first, I thought this has to be a mistake, a typo, a prank by the bakery, some weird autocorrect gone wrong. But then, I heard the laughter. Dad burst out laughing, loud and full, like he'd just watched the funniest stand-up of his life. Mom tried to stifle hers behind her hand, but her shoulders shook. And Madison, she actually had to sit down because she was laughing so hard. "Come on," Dad said, nudging me. "It's funny." Madison smirked. "Lighten up, Chloe. You know it's a joke." My whole body locked up. My ears were ringing. I looked around the room. Some people looked uneasy. A few gave awkward smiles. But no one said a word. No one stepped in. No one told them to stop. Because of course they didn't. They never did. I smiled just enough to hide the crack. Raised my glass. "To all of you," I said smoothly, "for always being exactly who I thought you were." The room fell silent. I nodded toward the decorations. "So much effort. I'll never forget it." Then I added, "And to the future. Because now, I finally know how to treat you, the way you've always treated me. I drank. And then I left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just walked out of the house and into the night, the laughter still echoing behind me like a bad ringtone I couldn't turn off. The air outside was sharp early spring in Colorado. I breathed it in like oxygen after drowning. I got into my car, sat in silence for a long moment, and then reached for my phone. I didn't call a friend. I didn't call a therapist. I called the leasing office for the apartment Madison was supposed to move into next week. "Hi," I said, calm and clear. "This is Chloe Bennett. I need to formally withdraw my name as co-signer on Unit 3B. The woman on the other end paused. "Oh, are you sure? The lease is already." "I'm sure. I had signed it 2 weeks ago. My parents said Madison needed a clean slate, and with her credit in the gutter and no steady income, she couldn't get approved a loan." "You have good credit, Chloe," Dad said. "It won't cost you anything," Mom added. "It's just a formality," Madison shrugged. And, like always, I had nodded and said yes. Because I was the one who said yes. Who fixed things, covered gaps, smoothed the edges. But not anymore. "I understand," the leasing agent said. "We'll remove your name and notify the primary applicant." "Thank you," I said. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the windshield. My face was calm. Too calm. I waited for guilt to kick in. It didn't. For the first time, I didn't feel like the bad guy. I felt like myself. Like someone who had finally stopped begging to be seen and started choosing herself. Let them figure it out. Let Madison panic when the landlord calls. Let Mom and Dad scramble when the lease falls apart. I wasn't being cruel. I was being fair. They had made a joke out of the biggest accomplishment of my life. They had humiliated me in front of a room full of people and expected me to laugh along like I owed them something. But I didn't. Not anymore. I drove home with the windows cracked, letting the night air wash over me. Each mile felt like a layer peeling off years of swallowed words, of buried feelings, of being the good girl who never said no. By the time I reached my apartment, I felt lighter than I had in years. They had always taught me that family comes first. But I was done being last. It started with a voicemail from Mom 3 days later. "Hi, sweetie. Just wanted to check something about Madison's lease," the landlord said. "Well, something weird came up. Call me back, okay?" I didn't. The next day. "Chloe, did you forget something with the lease? It's probably just a paperwork issue. Madison's a little stressed. Please call." Still nothing from me. Then came Dad. "What the hell did you do? You signed an agreement. You made a commitment. This isn't a game, Chloe." That made me laugh. A party with a cake that called me a loser was a joke, but this was serious? Madison's text started light. "Dude, did something get messed up with the lease?" Then angrier. "What the hell, Chloe?" And finally, "You screwed me. Fix it now." I didn't open any of them. For the first time in my life, I wasn't scrambling to explain or fix or apologize. I just let them sit in that uncomfortable space, the one I had lived in my entire life. I worked my shifts. I caught up on sleep. I started taking walks after dinner. My phone buzzed nonstop, but I left it face down on the counter. Every ring was a reminder that I had finally stopped being their safety net. They didn't even realize how much they'd depended on me until I stepped back. 3 weeks passed. That's how long it took for their polite confusion to curdle into desperation. Dad called again. His tone had shifted lower now, more serious. "You need to be a grown-up and take responsibility. That's what adults do." Funny, responsibility was all I'd ever known. When Madison skipped rent, I quietly paid it. When Mom's credit card bill got declined at the pharmacy, I Venmo'd her from a coffee shop. When Dad's car broke down, I dipped into my emergency savings for the tow. But now? Now they were on their own. They'd spent years calling me independent, as an excuse to ignore me. Now they'd get to see what that really meant. On day 22, I finally answered Dad's call. He didn't waste a second. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I let him yell. Let the storm pass. Then, when he finally paused to catch his breath, I simply said, "I don't think I will." "What?" "I don't think I'll be fixing this." Silence. Real stunned silence. And then, "You selfish, ungrateful little..." Click. I hung up. He called back. I let it ring. Madison tried. I let it ring. Then Mom, her voice soft, shaky. "Chloe, honey, we need to talk, please." But I had already made my choice. Let them flail. Let them beg. Let them feel what it's like to be unheard. Because I wasn't their backup plan anymore. I wasn't their invisible daughter. I was done. Friday evening. I had just gotten off a late shift and cracked open a cold ginger beer. The apartment was quiet, too quiet, and for once, I loved it. Then, my phone buzzed. Madison. Again. I let it ring once, twice, 5 times. Finally, I picked up. "What the hell did you do?" she blurted. "No hello." I leaned back in my chair. "You're going to have to be more specific." "The tuition money, Chloe. It's gone. The school called. They said the payment never came through. I'm about to lose my place me second chance. Did you cancel it?" I didn't even flinch. "Yup." Silence. Sharp and stunned. "What the why? You said you'd help." "No," I corrected calmly. "You assumed I would. Big difference. You can't do this to me." "But I can," I said, taking another sip. "And I just did." She sputtered, grasping at what little control she had left. "Mom and Dad said..." I cut her off. "I don't care what Mom and Dad said." That hit. I could hear it in the pause. Then, a softer voice, almost pleading. "Chloe, you know this is my last chance, right?" There it was, the first crack. The realization that her entire foundation was crumbling. Not because of something I did to her, but because I finally stopped doing everything for her. I leaned forward. "Yeah," I said, "I know. So, you'll figure something out." The same words Dad had thrown at me when I couldn't afford a textbook freshman year. The same words Mom said when I begged for help paying for a broken laptop. Now they got to taste them. She exploded. "You're doing this just to punish me." "No," I said, voice smooth and steady. "I'm doing this because I finally learned how to treat you the way you've always treated me." I hung up. The next day, Mom called. I didn't answer at first, but I knew she'd keep trying. And when I finally picked up, she was already crying. "Chloe," she sniffled, "we need to talk." I waited. "Madison's going to lose her spot at school. You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly." Her voice cracked. "You're punishing all of us for a stupid joke." I laughed quietly. "No, Mom. I'm finally just treating you exactly how you've always treated me." She gasped. It sounded like it actually hurt. And for the first time, I realized something. She wasn't just calling for Madison. She was calling for herself. Because she was scared. Because without me, without my money, my name, my quiet sacrifices, they were starting to feel the edges of real life. No buffer. No invisible net. Just the weight of their own decisions. "You have to forgive us," she whispered. "We're family." I exhaled slowly. "Funny," I said. "You only say that when you need something." She paused. "Chloe, please." Her voice wasn't fake anymore. It was cracked, real, almost human. But it didn't matter. Because I'd already given enough. Of my time, my money, my heart, my silence. And now, they'd pushed me too far. "I don't owe you anything," I said, quiet but firm. "Not anymore." Then, for the last time, I hung up. In the days that followed, there were fewer calls. Maybe they finally got tired. Or maybe they started to realize I wasn't bluffing. For once, I wasn't the Chloe who said yes out of guilt. I wasn't the one who picked up the pieces after everyone else broke things. I wasn't the one they could toss aside and still expect to show up when needed. I was just done. But one afternoon, as I was folding laundry, the phone rang again. Madison. Out of sheer curiosity, I answered. Her voice was calm, controlled, too controlled. Hey, just wondering if you've cooled off. I smiled to myself. Cool as ever. A pause. Then, I just think you're being really bitter, Chloe. There it was. I'm not bitter, I replied. I'm clear. You're punishing me for something Mom and Dad did. Madison, I said softly, you were the joke on the cake. She went quiet, then snapped. You're so self-righteous now, huh? Just because you finally stood up for yourself? No, I said, my voice steady, because I stopped letting you all walk over me. She laughed once, hollow and cold. You think this makes you strong? I paused. No, I think surviving you people for 24 years made me strong. This, I said, this is just me being free. I was about to hang up when she tried one last angle. Whatever, I'll figure it out, she said, bitterness thick in her voice. And that's when I smiled, truly smiled, and said, good, because that's what you always told me, remember? You'll figure it out, Chloe. Now it's your turn. I heard her breath hitch, just slightly. Then silence. That silence was a gift. I let it hang there before pressing end. And then Dad called. I didn't answer. Then Mom again. I finally picked up, more out of closure than compassion. Chloe, she said, her voice low, tired, worn out in a way I had never heard before. I just want to know, how did we get here? I didn't soften. You didn't see me, I said. You used me. You laughed at me when I thought you were proud. She began to cry again. We never meant to hurt you. But you did. Please, don't turn your back on us. I let the silence settle. Then, I whispered the words they had used on me 1,000 times. Sounds like a you problem. And I hung up. No yelling. No goodbye. Just closure. 3 months later, I moved to Portland. I found a small apartment above a coffee shop with creaky floors and big windows that let in the morning light. I took the marketing internship I'd dreamed about part-time at first, then full-time. The pay wasn't amazing, but I had enough. More than enough. For the first time in my life, I didn't wake up feeling like I owed anyone anything. No frantic calls, no overdraft alerts, no half-hearted thank yous from people who only noticed me when I was useful. Just me. And quiet. God, the quiet was beautiful. I started spending my weekends reading again, real books, not assigned chapters. I bought myself flowers from the Saturday market. I found a local yoga class that let me breathe in ways I hadn't since childhood. I even started writing again just for me. I never told them I moved. They never asked. Eventually, the calls stopped. No more guilt voicemails, no more demands wrapped in fake concern, no more pleas like, we're family, Chloe, don't do this. They finally understood. I wasn't coming back. I heard through my cousin that Madison had to move back home. Her lease fell apart. The school dropped her enrollment after the tuition deadline passed. No scholarship, no backup plan, no apartment. She's working part-time at a smoothie shop now, still blaming everyone but herself. My parents? They've scaled back. Fewer dinners out, no more spa weekends for Mom. I guess when your invisible daughter walks away, you start to notice what disappears with her. I don't hate them. I don't wish them harm. I just don't carry them anymore. I think that's what healing really is. Not some big dramatic forgiveness. Not screaming matches or emotional reunions. Just releasing the weight. Letting the silence do what words never could. One evening, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea and my old college hoodie, watching the sky turn pink. I thought about that cake again, the one that said, "Congratulations, loser." And I realized something. They were half right. I was a loser. I lost the role they forced on me. I lost the need to prove anything. I lost the version of me who kept shrinking just to make room for everyone else. And in losing all that, I won.